Hey, good evening, and thanks for joining us at 6:30. I'm Blair Best. Self-driving cars, property taxes, and first-grade artwork. What more could you want? Our top stories tonight start with a closer look at the science behind elite Olympic athletes, as a local university works to better understand how Olympians reach their gold medal potential. Plus, public safety is a priority in Clackamas County, no doubt. But how much more are you willing to pay for it? Details on the levy coming your way in May. But first, millions of dollars found inside the Portland Housing Bureau, and KGW viewers are more than frustrated. How those on the brink of homelessness are responding. It's our big story tonight. Okay, if there's one story that we have covered recently that has caught your attention, it is the millions of unspent dollars sitting in the Portland Housing Bureau. The city says the money was recently discovered after it hadn't been properly tracked or budgeted. And as you can imagine, many of you had strong reactions, like Mike, who emailed us saying, "You've got to be kidding me. Over $100 million unaccounted for. I am appalled by this recent discovery of funds that could have been used for so much good." And Susan wrote, "Absolutely unacceptable that the city has such either incompetent staff or fragmented system of accounting that results in a growing number of discovered unspent funds. This is taxpayer money." But beyond the frustration, and there's plenty of it, there are real people waiting for help, people trying to stay housed, people trying to move out of shelters. Today, I spoke with two men, each stuck in a different side of Portland's housing crisis. There's a hidden side to homelessness. For Jeff, it looks like this.
We've been here for about 3 weeks.
And he's running out of time.
I got about enough to pay for one more week, and that's it, and then we're out on the streets.
After losing government rent assistance, he and his son were evicted from their apartment. Jeff can't walk on his own, and his son is diabetic, requiring life-saving medication.
The cold weather will destroy it. It'll be worthless. It'll take one night, and then it'll kill him.
Finding housing hasn't been easy.
The best Multnomah County will give us is a single-man tent and a sleeping bag. Tell us to go sleep on the street.
In Portland's Central East Side,
oh man,
Caleb also waits for a path forward.
There's realistically no reason why I should still be here at the homeless shelter 8 months in.
After a series of setbacks, Caleb ended up on the streets. After almost a year in this shelter, and despite working and going to school, permanent housing is still out of reach.
Because every time I go back there and talk to the case manager, I just feel like that they're not really doing their job. I just feel like that I'm not really getting helped.
This comes as the city of Portland recently discovered more than $100 million sitting unspent in the Housing Bureau.
It doesn't add up. It doesn't add up.
The money unreported and accruing for years. City Council still deciding how to spend it. If you ask Jeff,
there's nothing that we can do. There's nowhere we can turn.
There's one place the money should go.
To be able to place those people that are most in jeopardy of losing their lives to be housed.
That would change my life extremely.
Okay, so I reached out to the mayor's office about Jeff and Caleb to see if any of this money could go toward helping them. A spokesperson responded, saying that their stories underscore the urgency and complexity of making sure every Portlander has a safe, stable place to sleep. And we know there are many more people just like them. Check out this voicemail we got from Sandra just a couple of hours ago.
What are you going to do with all this money that you have found for the homeless and people like me that need it and need it right now? We could get put out before you even decide to do what you're going to do with it. This is a necessity for our lives, and we need it now. Somebody help.
Okay, so since the news broke of the millions found in the Housing Bureau, the city is hiring an outside group to investigate how all the bureaus manage their money. But a question I heard a lot today was when people in need could start to see the impacts of this money. A city spokesperson tells me this money has not yet been budgeted and can't simply just fly out the door. But it was always meant to be used in the future, in line with the city's housing priorities. And there are rules that come with some of the money, meaning it can only be used for certain things. But we are told around $20 million could be used to help people pay rent. City Council is currently considering 2 pieces of legislation that would do that. But those plans must be formally approved through the city's budget process, which takes months. And that's time that people like Jeff, Caleb, and Sandra just don't have. Okay, now we want to hear from you. What stood out to you in that last story? What do you think this money should be used for? Let us know. Email the story at kgw.com or call and leave us a voicemail, 503-226-5090. Well, developing now in Keizer, we're working to learn more about 2 shootings that happened Monday night and early Tuesday morning that sent 2 people to the hospital. Police do not believe the shootings are connected. And even though 1 person was arrested yesterday, that person has already been released from jail. John Adams has more.
Keizer police are still looking for the suspect or suspects involved in the first of those 2 shootings that injured a Salem father while he was driving his family away from the In-N-Out on Monday evening. According to Keizer police, the family was driving away from the restaurant after 10 p.m. on Monday when their windows were shattered with gunfire. The father, a 28-year-old male, suffered serious but non-life-threatening injuries and was able to drive to a nearby fire station with his wife and 2 children aged 7 and 2 in the car, where he received care before going to the hospital. We found out another person was also shot in the leg in that incident. Keizer police are investigating but have not yet released a description of the suspect. We're also learning that the suspect arrested in the second shooting, 42-year-old Keith Winans, is facing numerous charges for allegedly shooting at a restaurant and a delivery vehicle. According to the Marion County Jail, Winans has been released from jail and will have his first court appearance on March 10th. Keizer Mayor Kathy Clark says she has trust in local law enforcement to keep the public safe.
I have a tremendous amount of confidence in their ability, along with our regional partners, to find out what happened and to make sure that they are keeping the public at large safe.
Still many unanswered questions in the first of those 2 shootings, and a possible suspect or suspects still on the loose. In Keizer, John Adams, KGW News.
Well, now to a live look at the state capitol in Salem, where the short legislative session continues for the next few weeks. One bill lawmakers are considering would allow self-driving cars like Waymo onto Oregon roads. The proposed bill would create statewide rules for self-driving cars, which means if passed, cities would not be able to make up their own rules. It also breaks down how these companies would be held liable in the event of a crash. Opponents say they're worried about job losses for rideshare drivers and the risk of cyber attacks. They also point to a recent federal investigation after Waymo's self-driving cars repeatedly sped past school buses.
The safety data looks really good. There was 90% fewer crashes with serious injuries. There were 92% fewer pedestrian-involved crashes with injuries.
That at some point, there needs to be an answer to who's responsible when bad things happen.
If enacted, self-driving cars could hit the road as soon as 2027, though with a human driver at first to get the vehicles comfortable with street layouts. True self-driving vehicles would then be allowed in 2028, but again, that's only if this bill passes. Right now, it's in committee with a long road ahead. Okay, turning now to Clackamas County, where this week commissioners finalized a plan to put a public safety levy on the May ballot, asking voters to raise property taxes in order to keep dozens of sheriff's deputy positions and jail beds. The current public safety levy expires at the end of this year. It's been renewed every 5 years since 2006. If voters approve the levy in May, the property tax hike would take effect next year. Commissioners unanimously approved this plan for the May primary. The levy would raise property taxes by about 17 cents for every $1,000 in assessed value. So what does that mean for the average homeowner in Clackamas County? Well, they would pay about $60 more each year. That average number is for property assessed at around $360,000. If your property is worth more than that, you would pay more. Worth less, you would pay less.
I don't think the voters have an appetite for a higher number. I want this to pass. I want this to be funded at the rate that's going to get us by for the next 5 years. And I think by going out and asking for more money, I think we're really setting ourselves up for failure.
And I believe that this is probably the best levy rate and predictions that we probably have ever had in the lifetime of the levy.
Okay, here's a list of things that are being funded by the current levy, meaning that if the levy fails in May, these things would be at risk of being cut. More than 100 jail beds, some meant for mental health or medical purposes, 3 dozen jail deputies, nearly 3 dozen patrol deputies, 5 detectives, and even the county's body cam program. The county estimates that over the 5 years of the new levy, it would raise more than $200 million, averaging around $40 million per year. Though it's worth noting that commissioners left the door open on the option of putting the levy on the November ballot if it fails in May.
I hope we don't have to have another bite at the apple in November. And I hope that voters will take the time to not just be angry about increased costs and affordability, but actually look nuanced at the situation and fund law enforcement in Clackamas County.
I think we can always use more public safety, but we also have to balance reality. And I do want to speak to seniors out there. And I've met with a lot of people that are on a very fixed income, struggling right now. Our fastest homeless population are seniors. I just think it is a tough economic time, and I think we, need to be as prudent as we can with these tax dollars.